All right, you are not going to believe this story. We're about to get into one of the wildest things that's happened in the crypto world, period. It's got everything. Thousands of complete strangers, a priceless piece of American history, and a totally new, kind of revolutionary way of getting things done online. So just picture this for a second. What if you and, I don't know, a few thousand people you've only ever met in a chat room decide to raise $47 million, and you decide to do it in under a week? All for one reason, to buy an original copy of the US Constitution. I mean, it sounds completely made up, right? Well, it wasn't. It actually happened. This group, calling themselves ConstitutionDAO, pulled off this insane fundraising effort only to get outbid at the very last second. But losing the auction isn't even the most interesting part of the story. The real question is, how in the world does a massive, leaderless group of strangers pull something like this off so fast? And the answer? The secret sauce that made this whole thing possible is a powerful new kind of organizational structure, something that could really only exist on the internet. It's called a DAO. So a DAO, which stands for Decentralized Autonomous Organization, is a whole new way for people to work together. Seriously, forget about CEOs, managers, or boards of directors. In a DAO, the organization is run entirely by its members, and the rules are all baked right into code on the blockchain. That means they're transparent for everyone to see and super difficult to change on a whim. And the engine that makes a DAO run is something called a smart contract. The best way to think about a smart contract is like an automated rulebook. It's the digital DNA of the group. It controls everything: how you join, how you vote, how money gets spent. All of it happens automatically without needing a human in the middle to approve things. This quote just hits the nail on the head. In the world of DAOs, the code is the law. The rules aren't hidden away in some filing cabinet. They're right there in the source code for everyone to inspect. It's this radical transparency and automation that makes it all work. Now, you should know not all DAOs are created equal. You've got these algorithmic ones that are almost totally run by software with very little human input. But then you have participatory DAOs, and that's exactly what ConstitutionDAO was. These are all about bringing the members together to vote and make collective decisions as a group. But okay, that brings up a really big problem, doesn't it? If the group is run by votes, how do you keep it fair? How do you avoid one of the oldest problems in any democracy? Yeah, I'm talking about the tyranny of the majority. Think about it. In a normal vote, if 51% of people feel kinda meh about an idea, they can still beat the 49% who might be incredibly passionate about it. The intensity of their preference just doesn't count. So, is there a better way to do this? Well, this is where a really clever idea called quadratic voting comes into play. It's a system designed specifically to solve this problem by letting people show not just what they want, but how much they want it. Let's break down how this actually works, because it's simple but pretty genius. Everyone gets a certain number of credits to spend. Now, your first vote on an issue costs you just 1 credit. Easy enough. But if you feel really strongly and want to cast a second vote on that same issue, well, that's going to cost you 4 credits. A third vote? That'll be 9 credits. You see the pattern? The cost is a number of votes squared. It forces you to really think and save your voting power for the things you care about most. Okay, so in this digital world, every single action, whether it's casting one of those votes or sending money, it takes computer power to make it happen. And that power isn't free. This actually brings us right back to the ConstitutionDAO folks, where a lot of them lost money, not because they lost the auction, but because of these pesky things called gas fees. So what on earth is gas? Put simply, gas is the fuel that makes the Ethereum network run. It's just a unit of measurement for how much computational work is needed to get something done. A simple transaction might need a little gas. A more complex one needs a whole lot more. The absolute best way to get your head around this is the car analogy. Think of your transaction as a road trip. The gas limit is just how much fuel you're willing to put in the tank before you start. The gas price is how much you're willing to pay for each liter of that fuel. And just like in real life, if you're willing to pay a higher price, you'll probably get served faster. So when you put it all together, your total fee is basically this formula. You have the total gas units, that's how long your trip is, and you multiply that by the price, which is made of 2 parts. There's the base fee, which is set by the network depending on how busy it is. Think of it like surge pricing. And then there's an optional priority fee, which is basically a tip you can add to jump the line. And here is the absolute crucial part, the thing that trips so many people up. If you don't put enough fuel in the tank for your journey, if your gas limit is too low, your transaction will just fail. It'll run out of gas halfway there. But, and this is a big but, because the network still did all that work trying to process it, you still have to pay for the gas you used. You get charged even if it doesn't go through. Ouch. All right, let's zoom out from all the technical stuff for a minute and ask a way bigger, more philosophical question. What does this all really mean for how we organize ourselves? Because this technology, it's not just about weird internet money. It's about trust. Way back, over 350 years ago, a philosopher named Thomas Hobbes came up with this idea. He argued that to stop society from being a chaotic free-for-all, people had to agree to give up some of their power to a central authority, a Leviathan, like a king or a state. That central power would enforce the rules and create the trust needed for everyone to cooperate. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. DAOs are trying to solve that exact same problem, the problem of trust, but from a completely opposite direction. Instead of putting our trust in a human ruler or a government, which we all know can be flawed, a DAO asks us to put our trust in code, in transparent automated rules that are enforced not by a state, but by the blockchain itself. And that really leaves us with this huge final question to think about. For centuries, we've lived under the model of Hobbes' Leviathan, trusting human-run institutions to keep order. DAOs present this radical alternative, where the ultimate authority isn't a person at all, but a protocol. So the question we have to start asking is code a better foundation for our trust than rulers? And what would a world based on that idea actually look like?